Welcome to WellPlayed Podcast, a show on all things playful and joyous in education. I'm your host, MrMatera, a sixth grade teacher, author, presenter, and today I am here with Sarah Kiefer. Really excited to have a new guest on the show, and we're talking about creating change through growth, and I can't wait to get to this topic. But before we do, Sarah, can you give yourself kind of an introduction? Let us know a little bit about you.
Hi, Michael. First of all, thank you for having me on tonight. And my name is Sarah Kiefer. I am a technology integration specialist for the Ross Local School District. I actually split my time between two elementaries and hands down, absolutely love my job day in and day out. Previous classroom teacher, I taught fifth grade for 7 years. And then I also taught seventh and eighth grade social studies for 7 years.
Woo! I love social studies. That's
too.
my jam. That's my jam. All right, so just right there from your introduction, you sounds like you've had some changes. You've changed some things over your career.
I sure have. Fifth grade was a heavily tested area, and I really grew tired of it after a while. And a seventh and eighth grade position opened up in my building. I had a couple friends that were teaching social studies, and they encouraged me to apply. So I did, and I moved up and 100% fell in love with it. I was afraid of, quote, the big kids. I'm not a very tall person. I'm only like 5'3". So a lot of these boys are taller than me. So it was a little intimidating, but love social studies and had a great team to work with. And then after about 7 years doing that, we went one-to-one as a district with Chromebooks. And I was asked to be part of the team to be like the task force for our building. And from there, I was like, okay, they literally said, we're not buying you hard copy textbooks anymore. Your social studies textbook is digital, as well as the workbook. Here you go.
Here you go. Here's a well thought out plan.
And I was like, well, better get on board with this. So I know I could have taken a whole different attitude with it, but it was time for a change. Like I just felt that, and fell in love with Google. We also became a Google district, and I quite honestly say I really didn't like Google at first, and then I came to find a lot of the collaboration. Google Calendar like blew me away. And then one summer, I decided I was going to check out this Google Certified Educator thing that I'd heard about. Went through the modules, became level 1 certified, then level 2 certified, and totally did that while my girls were swimming in our pool, and because I'm not a pool person.
So you're like a Google ninja. I mean, you got certified 1, certified 2. Like you're moving up the belts.
Well, I moved up a couple years after that to certified trainer. So super excited about
Black
that
belt.
one. Yeah. There's only one left, but I haven't tackled that one. I mean, honestly, from there, it was our district realized with all of these Chromebooks, we needed more people. And so the superintendent put out a job posting for a half-time tech integration. I applied for it. And I got it. And then my principal sat me down and he said, by the way, that's down at the elementaries. And I was like, oh, all right. I wanted the job, right? So I actually, that year, I split my time half and half. I was started my day as the tech integration down at the elementaries. And then I went to the middle school for the second half of the day, and I still taught 7th and 8th grade social studies. So it was a tough year, but it was great. And then the following year, I was able to go full-time tech integration.
Okay, so we gotta bust this down for everybody here. We gotta break it down. So the topic today being, creating change through growth. All of those moves, whether it was from 5th to 8th and 8th to sort of elementary tech, to all of them would require, I think, a tremendous amount of sort of growth in skill set as well as mindset that you had to kind of like undergo. I want to start with what gave you the courage to make that jump. You talked about the excuse that like 5th grade being heavily tested, but but what's the courage? I mean, like, it's hard. Like, there's a reason people do routines. There's a reason it's Taco Tuesday, right? Like, there's a reason we get in these ruts. It's easier to just reboot the same day tomorrow that you had today. Like, you took major steps, Sarah.
Um, Thinking about it the way you just framed it, like I stop and I'm looking back and I'm like I was getting tired.
Hmm.
And I loved the people that I work with. I loved that age group, but it was like I needed something different. I needed to like get re-inspired.
Hmm.
Um, so it was also to I will give a shout out to Alyssa Bruck and Leah Carwish. Those were the other two seventh and eighth grade social studies teachers at the time. And they both were like, hey, we'll help you. We'll do whatever we can to support you. We got you. And, you know, knowing that you're going to a place where it might be scary, um, they were there, like they had their hand out for me, and that I truly appreciate. Along with, I had taught fifth grade with another teacher, Julie. She had since moved up as well to seventh grade, and she was going to be on that same team. And I was like, I mean, I can't go wrong. You know, you're surrounded by your friends, you're surrounded by support. Um, the principal was supportive of it, and I knew I already loved social studies, so that wasn't a problem for me. That was like an enticement, like, hey, you can just teach social studies. You don't have to teach a second. You know, I was
Yep.
also teaching language arts, and then a couple years it was science. Um, but like you can focus in on just social studies, and that really provided a lot of the inspiration for me.
I love it because so I mean, breaking down what you said there, Sarah. I mean, like you had that you wanted to be re-inspired, but I do want to say whether you knew it or not, the people around you. I mean, you were also inspiring others. I think by taking that change, which ultimately is awesome because the you ending in the final position that you're in now with being a like tech integrator for you to be that sort of symbol of growth and like change over time, you know, that perfectly ends up fitting the role that you take over, which is awesome. And I think you hit the nail on the head for all those of us that want to do change in our lives and are a little fearful of it. Uh, you really spoke to having like this safety net. You had people that were encouraging you, willing to be there, and you kind of also knew that the position you were moving up to in that seventh, eighth grade social studies slot, you had a tribe there already. And I think
Mm-hmm.
that like recognizing the people around us can really give us that courage, maybe that little extra bit of courage we need, you know? Because I think we all have those dreams. You clearly were looking at the position, maybe even applied to the position before thinking through all the ramifications. And that final push, it sounds like between the inspiration slash the tribe that you had, you were able to make that jump. That's pretty awesome.
Yeah, it was pretty awesome, and I have no regrets. It's one of those that I've almost kind of come to realize that every few years, like maybe some kind of change is like a welcome additive to your career, you know. And yeah, like we spaced our girls out, and then like, oh, we're not having more kids. Get a dog, you know. Like it follows true into my personal life too. Like it's just it gives that little extra, you know, boost. I'm not looking for huge major changes. I mean that
That's
stuff can
That's
settle
so
in.
funny. That's so funny that you say that though, because like some people would probably already at this point in this podcast be sitting there thinking, "What is she talking about?" These are all major, like changing your career, even if it's still with inside education. I mean, I know people that would never make the jump to another grade level, like especially that big of a jump, or the fact that you even took the risk to go down to part time, to go down to elementary. I mean, like those two in and of itself to like leave whole school sets of like middle to lower or lower to middle or whatever and go part-time, those are two huge categories. So I love that you're like, well, I wouldn't make a big change. Those are huge changes.
No, I'm saying I don't want to make any more big changes now.
Oh.
I did that, got it, great. Um, and that year that I was halftime tech and then halftime classroom teacher, like that was that was a big year. That was a hard year. It was a great year. It really taught me a lot about, time management and like how do you, and then the guy that came on to teach the first half of my, what was my teaching day, it was his first year of teaching, period. So it was like all of us in together, and like it was like, man, it was a great year. I learned a lot. I don't really want to do that again. He's got it. He's good. Um, but yeah, I mean, major massive changes, but I guess, you say that and then what happens?
I think we maybe rationalize everything, right? So like when the next change you make, you're gonna say it's not that big. You're just sliding from here to there, but like to somebody else, that slide is pretty big. Um,
Yeah.
I do want to say, so if we're talking about this like growth, what are some areas that like if you were to label like two or three categories that like in the process of changing, what are some of the areas you grew in, like that you kind of had to be able to like function at your new role? Like what were areas or categories that had to get better that now might be better and that are strong and you're liking your job and your life?
Okay. So thinking about it, I would say definitely one area is like interpersonal communication.
Okay.
Like these people, I was in the same district. So these people, had heard my name before, but, I'm coming from the middle school and I'm now down at the elementaries. Um, so I didn't, like, I knew of these people, but I didn't know these people. So building those relationships and building them in a way that I would provide myself as being a useful person, I think was big because, before I knew everybody. I'd been teaching at the middle school for, 14 years. That it was easy. And then going down and meeting two buildings full of new people, two new administrators that I'd never worked closely with at all. Um, like just understanding how that ebb and flow of like I'm in their building, you know. And I think it was a welcome addition. I do believe like I've built these strong relationships now, but like, just coming in, you got to kind of see where you're at,
Sure.
figure out. And the two principals, like I said, I had never worked with either of them, so that was for me that was a big one because I'd had the same administrator all the other years. So like figuring out how to work with a different administrator was, again, part of that interpersonal, like that back and forth, the communication.
Yeah, so
That,
I kind of have like the three that I gathered from you is definitely communication, uh, relationships, like working on those relationships, and kind of summing those two up. I just sort of wrote down tactics. Like you had to like know how to like
mm-hmm,
work that situation, know how to approach this building or this administrator or this teacher, to,
right,
to sort of maximize both your potential at your job, but ultimately your job is about maximizing the potential of the people you're working with.
right, exactly.
So, wow, like what three skill sets to like improve on? Those are awesome. Uh, in your growth, like kind of like taking your story here, in your growth, how does it feel, I guess, now, like reflecting back, like, right, like we talk about these and you sort of, for those of you that are watching the episode, like, Sarah's smiling at certain points, like you're looking back, you are stronger. You did grow. You now have these skill sets. And sure, I'm sure you want them to even improve more and grow more,
Right.
but like reflecting back and thinking on it, uh, how does it sort of feel? Like taking that pause, taking that moment, looking back. Well, like, how does that feel as a person who tackled the challenge and now has some of that growth to show for it?
I mean, I'm humbled. I'm honored to look back and see like I've got two new buildings worth of friends. If you think about it,
Yeah.
and that's not something that I ever. I mean, rewind the clock 5 years. Sarah, where are you going to be in 5 years? teaching 7th and 8th grade social studies, you
Yeah,
know, be happy. But now it's like I look back and I go, did I really do that? Has
I
it
know,
really been
right?
that long? Has it really been that long? Like I can't even remember exactly. I had to literally look back at my calendar the other day. Somebody had asked me, "How long have you?" And I'm like, "Gosh, I don't." So it's like time flies, but when you're in the middle of it, it's like every day. It's like, okay, what do I focus on here? What do I focus on there? So reflecting, it's very hard for me to believe, but I know I still have so much more to go.
That's so awesome. I think over like my career, this like creating change and growing through that change. Unlike you, I haven't had too many different jobs. I've sort of taught three different places, uh, and but but all the while, like I definitely have been growing skills, taking on challenges. And I actually told the story the other day when I was doing PD. I was doing some PD down in Texas, and the the story I told was how my boss at the time, well, my social studies department chair said, like, I want us to present more. Like, we have a great middle school department, and it is. It's I think of our middle school social studies department is phenomenal. But we didn't back then. We didn't really go and present anywhere, and I kind of didn't really think about this until the other day, reflecting on it. He sort of started my professional development career because of that. He just said we're an awesome department. We should be sharing out. We should be telling other people not what to do, but like putting out what we're doing so that it helps. And like also us going out for professional development means we get to learn from others too. It's like this
Right?
awesome like it works both ways. And so just reflecting on that and then thinking of all the skills I had to gain to do that. Like at the time, I had never spoken in front of like adults. Like I've never spoken in front of adults for 60 minutes. I mean, like that's a
Ter-
long
Terrifying.
that's a long time, you know?
Yeah.
And now like now that comes with quite ease for me, but that shows you like stopping and thinking about that and thinking about that growth, like where I am today versus where I was 10 years ago when Chuck Taft said, "I think we should present more." You know, like wow, to where I'm at now. Like it's just an impressive thing. And the other thing too, I think about goals is when we achieve those goals, when we grow through those, how much stronger we gain like a sense of stability in our lives. Like there's like I don't know, when you conquer the thing that's in front of you, you just sort of feel I feel, I'll own it, I guess. I feel more security because like
Hmm.
then I know that I'm gonna be okay. I can like the next thing that comes my way, I bet you I can stop for a moment, think it through, and conquer it. And if it's a big thing, maybe it'll take 2 years to conquer it, 5 years to conquer it. Who knows? But like, I have confidence that it can happen, right? So I don't know. I love this conversation. I'm getting a lot of energy from you too about like you went out and did that, and like you're that much better for it now, and still actually crave that. You crave that learning. You crave that growth.
I
Do you have some advice to people that are in your position as tech coordinators or integrators? They go by so many names in so many
I
different
do.
districts.
I
Like,
do. Number one, you gotta find like your tribe. You gotta find those people because like if you don't, like I don't know how you do any job without having your tribe, but this one having other people to I like geek out with, like nerd out with. You find those
yes.
people and you share like, hey, Lissa, like this is what I'm thinking. What do you think? And you can run through those things. And I think another thing is like what you just mentioned with your previous department head that encouraged you to present. Our curriculum director, Becky, said the exact same thing to me about a year ago. She said, hey, she's like, you've got some good stuff. You should go out and present. And I'm like, oh, I can't do that. I can't do that. And she's like, no, really, I think like you've got some good things going on. You should share them. And um, I've now presented at a few different conferences. And like you said, it's not so scary anymore. So
Yeah.
taking that first step is also another. thing
It's
to
so
do. Like,
important.
believe in yourself, that little bit of confidence in that area.
It's
Um,
it's really like I think something that we could sum it up with that all the teachers listening would totally recognize. It's all the things we tell our students.
right.
Right? Like,
Exactly.
but for
Exactly.
some reason when it comes to ourselves, we're like, no, I can't, no way can I. That's for some, I could. And you're like, we would never let a student say that to us.
No, no, no. We'd push them and we'd prod them and we'd encourage them until they did.
That's
And
right.
we'd cheer.
So
We'd
the
say, "Go."
next, that's right. So the next time one of you listening think like I should do this, and then you let that doubt creep in your head, turn on like teach yourself and have a little conversation with yourself and say like, no, I can do this. This is gonna be fine.
Right.
Like we all can do so much, and it's that self doubt that gets in the way. Uh, Now, the last thing I gotta say, the last sort of category I want to say about like this creating change through growth is happiness. Like, right? So, do you continue to be happy through that growth?
Oh, 150%. Without a doubt.
150% people. Are you listening to this? 150%
Yeah.
she just dropped on us.
Yeah. My husband said to me one day, he texted me like, how's your day going? And I was like, oh, it's great. I love it. And he texted me back and he said something like, not everybody gets to say that about their job, right?
That's right.
And I was like, yep, I know, but I love mine. So yay, go me.
Yay. That's awesome. I love it. And again, too, right? Like we understand and know the power of gratitude. So like the fact that like you also can like recognize that and then revel in that, right? Like
Yeah.
that's awesome, you know? I'm just like you. I love my job. I love the professional development I get to run at different districts. It's fun and I can't believe I'm so lucky and fortunate to meet so many others and I I think it's I don't know. I think we're all truly blessed and especially when we
Right.
play to our strengths and when we're challenged to go above those strengths, it's amazing how much we can rise up to.
Yeah.
It's pretty
Very
cool.
much so. Mm.
Well, we are at that time. We're ready for reflection time. And we have a pretty good one here by John Maxwell. Are you ready for it?
I'm ready. I can't believe it's here, but I'm ready.
I told you the time flies.
It, it sure does.
All right, here we go. This one is if we're growing, we're always going to be out of our comfort zone by John Maxwell. How does that hit you given what we were chatting about today?
It's a big one, right? I mean, growing is always indicating moving forward, and moving forward in a lot of ways is kind of scary. And I think that's where the out of your comfort zone is because you never know, is this going to be a good move? Is it going to be a bad move? But being willing to take that risk, I think, is a big takeaway for me. Like, it doesn't have to be huge. Like changing one little thing, you could grow, and then you say, "Oh, I can do that. I can do one more little thing," and then it just continues to build and build. It's like watching. Like I've got three little girls, and watching them learn to walk, scary. They've got to grow. They've got to take that first step, and that's what I see a lot in this quote. It doesn't have to be huge.
Mm-hmm.
Every little bit will count and will help.
Yeah, for me, I I like this quote because I think it reminds me of the fact that like as somebody that wants to grow, I want to get stronger, better, faster, whatever the case may be. Uh, that comfort zone equals a rut, right? That's what it's talking about. It's talking about like it's easy to just continue to do the same. And this quote reminds me of the fact that like how much I do love growing and growth, that it is worth putting yourself out there. It is worth going and venturing just a little further out. And yes, that means it's not as easy as that rut. It's not as comfortable as the comfort zone. However, it's worth it. It's worth that growth. It's worth what happens in that process. And I'm a firm believer that we are sort of that sum total of our experiences. And so even if every growth opportunity doesn't come to full fruition, I firmly believe I use some of that growth in other areas. So like I'll become more successful in this other area because of some talents I grabbed on this one. So
Right.
it's worth it. It's worth it. I guess that's what I'm saying. It's worth it.
I agree. I agree. Yeah.
Well, Sarah, thank you so much for being on Well Played today.
Thanks for having me.
It was a joy. It was a lot of fun chatting with you. You really have inspired me and reinvigorated me about like change and like tackling that change. That's fantastic. I
Thank
love
you.
it. Yeah, thank you. So everyone out there listening, I hope like Sarah and I's conversation really inspires you to try that thing you've been thinking about, whether that's a tiny change in your classroom or if that's painting one of the wall colors a little something different that you weren't thinking about. Try it. Just go out there, try it. A fresh coat of paint's not that hard to fix, and really neither is anything else. So we can fix it. Everybody, thanks so much for listening and tuning in. Hive Summit's coming up, so if you go to hivesummit.org and sign up, get your free ticket to an awesome PD. That's going to be all digital, all online. You're all welcome. The more, the merrier. And while you're signing up, if you could like tweet, everyone you know and get them to sign up as well. All right, guys, enjoy your week and play on.